Good morning, everyone. Welcome to November 2nd. My goodness, we are there already. And thank you so much to those people who sent me their biggest challenge and the rating that they made for each of the things that appear and feel like obstacles. I appreciate it. Hang in, be patient with me. I am going to get back to each one of you individually. It's just been a crazy week, and I wanted to dedicate enough time and enough ability to reflect before I sent you off a reply. So hang in, stay tuned. Last week, I just want to remind you, last week, basically our discussion was about barriers. All right, we all have them. I have them, you have them. They are, they can be generalized in some cases, in the case of clutter, hoarding, and the comorbidities, long list of comorbidities, other accompanying challenges that do they cause hoarding or clutter? No, they don't cause it, but they contribute to your ability to be present and in an effective, strategic way, reliably, to reach the goals. Are they permanent, impenetrable barriers? No, they're not. But they sure feel like it when they rear their ugly head, okay? So those barriers really are perceptions, all right? And when we think, when we feel, when we believe that we have a barrier, we assign, generally, depending on the context of our life at that time, how well everything else is going, how worried we are about something, how taxed we are about something else, how frustrated, how overwhelmed. Anybody relate to overwhelmed? We start to assign an impossibility as the meaning to them. All right. Or if not 100% impossibility, some degree of impossibility. And then you know what we do? As soon as we're that far down the track in our thinking, most of us, myself included sometimes, accept that perception. That's accept that perception as fact. Soon as we start to see it, believe it, and experience it as our fact, we add intensity to that experience. And depending on how well resourced we are, adequately, never perfectly, remember, just throw that word perfect out. It doesn't last longer than that. If you ever had perfection in your life, probably lasted the lifespan of a fruit fly. Anyway, we start to never question it. All right. And we certainly, I think everybody can relate to this one. Even if we don't accept it as fact and not question it ever, quite often, all right, we re-experience that it might be true. It possibly or probably is true. And then that becomes, we've made that our reality. All right. We don't. And I want to encourage you to ask a different question. Ask yourself the question, all right, right now, with everything I have to deal with, on the plus side, the minus side, close your eyes and picture it, okay? Actually, how true is that? That barrier, that perceived impossibility, all right? How much do we perceive the steepness of that hill being too steep? And for how long? start to break it down. It isn't as true as we feel it. It isn't as true as in that moment, that time of overwhelmedness. Okay, we wouldn't take odds against it not being true. We feel it, therefore we have a high probability of believing it. And our beliefs become the foundation blocks for what we are prepared to see, what we're able to see, and what we are able to consider being a way through it or around that barrier, that impossibility. Remember, the one thing we can always do, even in the worst situations, you're probably tired of me saying it, right? Say it to yourself though. In the worst situations, there's always something we can do. All right. And I'm not going to go into news feeds and whatever, but I don't know about you. If you reflect in the last 48 to 72 hours, this is the 2nd of November, have we not had more than a few extremely intense situations where we could see that the people involved in what appeared to be an impossible situation could do one thing? And ask yourself, that one thing, whether being crushed in a crowd or having a home invasion, all right, that one thing, did it change the outcome? Not perfectly, certainly not perfectly in every case, but did it increase the probability that some additional level of success could be built on? And I think if you look at the experience of others, if you bring that home to you, you realize there's always something we can do. All right. Now, today, rather than talk and belabor about barriers, I want to flip the coin a bit. All right. Today, we're going to look, part 2 is going to be to look at another aspect of putting steam in our tank. Why? Why would we do that? Why would we invest in that? Because that will help us overcome whatever fears we have that we accept as fact, all right, or certainly reality, and not just challenging ourselves. All right, challenging ourselves is like laying out a plan. All right, you know, I have a car, I haven't filled it, but I have a plan. I'd like to drive someplace, but I didn't prepare. Now, today, I want to talk about things that will fuel ourselves, put steam in the tank, suck away some of the reality that we have illegitimately applied to the fears we have. All right. Not because we're going to jump off the deep end, but because we're going to start seeing really, how actually high is that diving board that we feel like we're on the edge of. All right. And we're doing it to fuel ourselves so that we can look forward to those goals. So to continue in the theme of resourcing ourselves, I want to share a very little and very innocuous experience that I had recently. This is not about treadmills. Okay, this is about a point I want to make that I believe firmly is true. All right, and there's evidence. Okay, I bought a very inexpensive treadmill. Why? Mostly for my dogs. I've got 2 little Frenchies who can't sit in on the podcast any longer because they fall asleep and one of them snores like a trucker, and it comes out on the audio feed. So, and I did it so that Scotty Miller, one of the best dog walkers you've ever had, if you live locally and you have a dog and you can't walk the dog all the time, highly recommend him. So that Scotty can walk our dogs on them, on this treadmill, all right? If the weather is really, really bad, we're in Canada, we're in Ontario, we're in a valley, you know, we have Canadian weather, and when it arrives, sometimes it just sits there. So we have to have plans to kind of get through it. So all of this was in an effort to overcome a foreseeable event that is at some point likely to happen. All right. Not just likely, it will. It would be the first Canadian winter in recorded history if every single day in the winter you were able to safely and just want to go out. All right. So it is for a reasonable, foreseeable event. But it did occur to me that maybe I could use that cheap treadmill to prepare for Uganda on days when I don't want to go out. Now, it's not the terrain that I'm going to be walking on, but it does help me preserve and develop further stamina. All right. All right. So I figured I could walk on it as well. Now, that is not a surefire solution because it doesn't meet the 100% need. The point in me belaboring this is it the perfect ideal solution? No, if I waited for that, I would have to wait till next spring. All right, through the rains of next spring. There is no perfect solution. What it does, though, that cheap treadmill, in my mind, solves the dog problem. All right. And saves Scotty having to walk the dogs 100 times around the living room. It gives me a little piece of something that does benefit me. All right? Not surefire, but it's something I need. So the problem with that okay sort of solution is it's a lightweight treadmill. All right. So I'm realizing that there could be some problems, but it was the right price, seemed to solve enough of the problem. Okay, so our son came over for dinner on Saturday night. This is not about our son coming for dinner, all right? And just we're talking, and I shared my concern about, the feasibility long-term of this treadmill and the Uganda. Now, our son is heavily behind me in Uganda. So I did what I call send it out to the universe. Was I expecting anything? No. Did I think our son had a solution? No. Did I think that he might have more knowledge about something than I did that I might be able to use? Possibly. All right. So I sent it, I just risked, and I sent it out to the universe. He cogitated on it for a little while, and then he said, Mom, well, he didn't think of this right away. Actually, he emailed me after he went home. And he said, Mom, do you want to trade treadmills? I didn't even know he had a treadmill. At least until you get back from Uganda. He said, because I have a heavier duty one. I have a great treadmill. It is portable, but it's a much more heavy duty one. You can still use it for the dogs, but no matter what, it will probably be a whole lot less trouble and a whole lot more reliable than the cheap one. And I can use your cheap one until then. Now, what do you think this example, this experience is really about? Anybody? I want to see something added to the chat box. Do you see where me asking for help in some oblique way, all right, even when you have, and I had no vision of where that help would come from, could come from, might not come from, just expressing it, what I call sending it out to the universe, all right? Because if you do your part, and I live by this experience, not just this one, but 100,000 others, all right? If you send it out to the universe, you're doing your part. You're expressing your needs. By expressing your needs, what do? Guarantee success? No. All right. Without expecting anything or anybody to even respond, you increase the probability. You don't guarantee it, but stop prejudging the worth of making the effort based on your in that moment belief, all right, that it's not going to make a difference. You increase the likelihood that somewhere, somehow, enough will come back to you. Remember, there is nothing in this life other than, they say, death and taxes that is 100% certainty. But every time you express what you need, listen to me repeat it, you do, try it, you do increase the likelihood that it is possible. I think that might be the basis of the saying, no man is an island. If we each just express our needs with no expectation that we are doing it in the context or to a person where they have something definite to contribute, we just express it, all right? We increase the probability that enough of what we need will be provided. And it isn't about the miracle book. It isn't about the secret. It's just about the fact that we are not alone. Someone somewhere, and they say 3 degrees of separation, all right, either has the thing or the strategy or the whatever that you, enough of it that you need, or they know the person who has enough of what you need. Does that mean you're going to get it? No, that's not the point. The point is you take personal responsibility for your needs and you add that piece to it. I have bumped my head on this so many times, all right, that it's taught me the universe will provide what you need when you need it, in the order you need it, if you take personal responsibility and you stay awake listening with your antenna up. And it's okay for you to put your antenna up to help the other guy who is expressing his or her needs as well. And if you send that out to the universe simply by expressing the need in some form, you will receive enough of what you actually need. Maybe not what you asked for. It's when I pray and I say, oh, please, God, I accept your will. And then maybe just because I'm me or because I'm Irish or because of whatever, who knows what, I say, but just in case you're wondering, I do have a preference, if that's in the books. All right, have a little fun with it. My point is express your needs with no expectations. All right. So keep your antenna up and listening too. In my wildest dream, right, I never believed that I could walk 12,000 steps. Why? Because in my effort to make going to Uganda trekking a project, I saw the challenges and the potential setbacks that I needed to overcome. And then when I talk to you guys on the podcast, this community, I was hearing them express, you express the same thing I was feeling, like, how are you going to make this work? Okay, well, what reasonably can you anticipate? And it just felt like a are you kidding me moment? Like, really? You think you can do that? I heard you say it, and I decided, you know what? Walk the talk, girl. If you can imagine it, you can find a way to make it happen. So I decided, and I'm not Wonder Woman, and I'm not a wealthy person that I can hire people to do this, that, and the other and everything and make it work for me. I decided to sacrifice some things to make it happen. All right. And then when I heard you every week express your challenges, your strife, overcoming, and how you were bumping your head, and then you were bumping it again, and then you were finding a way to work around it or overcome your own challenges. Okay, what was the cost of not doing that? The cost of not doing it for you and for me, all right, is peace of mind. Set a goal, made it happen, enough. Self-respect. When I walked those 12,000 steps, I swear, just experiencing a tiny little, it was little, but it filled me, just like, you can do this. You can do this. It raised my confidence level, gave me a little more self-respect. And in some situations that you're living with, I encourage you to do the same thing. That's why I asked you to write down the barriers. I asked you to code them by how frequently they actually are, in fact, barriers. Now I'm going to ask you, and to put down one thing you can do despite the barrier. Now I'm going to ask you to believe in yourself, all right? And try it. Try those one things in order for each of those fears and barriers, because that will give you the same thing, peace of mind. You deserve it, all right? Rather than always self-criticism, self-assessment, peace of mind, self-respect. And in some situations, for some of you, safety in your homes and in your relationships. My challenge was physically about capacity, endurance, and stamina. And I never before, I'd hear people make a $10,000 a day step goal. And I was thinking, those people aren't anything like me. I can work 16 to 18 hours and love it. All right. Not the same thing as doing something you don't really want to do. And 10,000 of them, I never set that goal. Do you suppose that's why I never reached it? Do you suppose that's why I never reached it? I think that little example, that little challenge I set myself, right, to go that extra little distance and ask myself, you're not going to have to call the paramedics, right? You're not going to have to call home. Oh, you don't have your cell phone with you for somebody to come and get you. No, I think I can do it. Not only did I do 10,000, there were an extra 2,000 steps. I didn't even feel them. I didn't even feel them. I was shocked. Okay, this is not about me and steps. This is about how to overcome the limitations based on fear, based on what you've made part of your identity that it really isn't. How low are you setting your bar? Because I can guarantee you from personal experience, you will not exceed the level you set. You just won't do it. There is no magic. Whatever you need right now, take out that pen and paper. I want you to write down, what do you need to prove to yourself that you can reach that goal? What is the evidence And then over the next few weeks, let's make a plan. All right. A doable, achievable, manageable plan. Not pie in the sky. You don't have to become Superman or Superwoman. And I want to thank all of you. All right. All of you who sent me your biggest challenge, the list. All right. Because each one of those things is doable. All right. Just be patient. It may take me a few days, but just be patient. I want to hear your stories of progress, the little progress. We build step by step on the small progresses. Remember, the progress, the baby steps that you take forward, they don't have to be earth-shattering. They don't have to change the world or your life. Standing on that corner where I had a shorter route and a familiar but longer route. So I had some other experience of walking that, not after 10,000 steps, not after, I think it was about 9,200 steps at that point. All right. So I wasn't going off the deep end into the dark, but I never walked it in that context. That moment where I said, worst case scenario, you're going to have to stop and rest. Because once you start it, there's no stopping. It's not like you don't have your cell phone. You can't call for help. You're not going to a neighbor to say, hi, can you drive me home? You've overcome other things that cropped up that were a surprise. Do you think you can do it? I thought, high probability I can do it. I don't know what kind of shape I'm going to be in by the time I get there. But you know what? It was that moment that I swear I challenged myself that dozens of times since I've done the same thing. All right. Dozens of times since I've done the same thing. And that has got me further. That has got me over hiccups. All right. All right. So the question is, what does it take? What will it take for you to get started? And right now, I want you to take a second and I want you to write down your best belief on the challenge that you would be meaningful to you. What in your heart of hearts do you believe it will take to get started? I'll give you a second. And I want to see it in the chat box. Send me a chat message. So, getting started the first day is the hardest. It isn't just you, all right? It's got really very little to do with you. I don't know anybody who started to overcome something and starting wasn't the hardest part, okay? There's nothing wrong with you. Repeat that to yourself. When you find it difficult, when you find it, oh, I don't want to. All right, repeat it to yourself. Starting is the hardest part. It's not about me. I know this. I'll throw this one in. All right. Every day that I can't walk, for whatever reason, I've got, late appointments. The weather is rotten. I've got something else that I need to do that is a legitimate priority and time limited. The next day, it's always harder. It's always harder than it was the day of the last time I did it, and kept doing it small. Repeat that to yourself. All right. Okay. So realistic content alert. Okay. Alert, alert, alert. Starting is the hardest part. Yes. That first day. Truth. The second day isn't a lot easier. There's nothing wrong with you. All right. It isn't about you. It's about human nature, and it's about starting things. Why? Why is the second day not a lot easier? Because you still have the habit of talking yourself out of it. I still had the habit of talking myself out of it. Hence the treadmill. And you know what? Walking on a treadmill is boring. It's a whole lot better to be out no matter what the weather is. Well, within reason. By the 27th of December, I won't be saying that because we'll be knee deep in snow. All right. Give yourself a chance. Give yourself a chance. So last week when we talked about the biggest barriers, we scaled them, right? By letter. Okay. How often, how likely that situation is to overwhelm us? How often, how likely it is to derail our motivation? How many people here have said to me, my motivation is absent without leave? It's sort of, I just can't find the motivation. All right. What is an goal for you? If that one's too big, what is another smaller important goal to you? And what do you need to do to pick the first goal? What is it? What is that first goal? Could lowering the bar and making that be the starting point habitually? Habitually, I can always. Do I want to? No. Apparently, I don't like walking all that much. All right. Apparently, I don't. All right. So that first goal, if it's too big, bring it down. What do you need to do to be able to start that goal? All right. Now, write that down. You had goals, you had barriers, you scaled them. You put what the goal was, what the barriers to that were, you scaled the barriers. All right, let's do the flip. On the other side of that list, goal, what would be a small baby step? What would be a small baby step, all right, to you being able to start? Can you think of 3 very small things or actions that maybe you do every day about something that you really like doing? How many people here like cooking? How many people here like cleaning up? Really? Somebody actually put their hand up. Okay, you're hired. Come on to my house. Come on to I thought nobody liked cleaning up. Okay. So if you like cooking and you don't like cleaning up, all right, are you going to make a Christmas dinner every day? No, you're going to scale it back. You're going to first think from the reverse. Okay, I have to clean. If I don't want the kitchen to look like a bomb went off, that's the way my son cooks. Okay, he's a wonderful cook, but there isn't a pot or a dish in the house that isn't dirty by the end of it. And then he bails and goes home. What do I feel like I can complete? What do I feel like I can complete? All right. Are any of those things feeling bigger than you? Is there anything that has consistency? All right. For instance, with an example of that for me would be dishes. Do I like doing dishes? No, I don't like doing dishes. However, If dishes have to be done, please can I wash? Because for whatever reason, I don't know, not going to question it. I know that if I'm going to help with dishes, no matter how many there are, if I'm at the sink in the water, all right, I'm okay. That I know I can force myself to do. The drying, putting away, all of that. How many people here like emptying the dishwasher? We are not related in any way. How many people here don't mind loading the dishwasher in whatever way you load the dishwasher? And don't you hate those people who come up behind you and have to redo it because it's not done properly? All right. I say, get your own dishwasher. All right. Are any of those things that you need to start? You personally need to start something. Are any of them feeling bigger than you? Besides the accepted, especially challenging ones, all right? Now write down one reason why it feels so daunting, whatever that one thing is. Why does it feel so daunting to you? I'm assuming with the dishwashing example, for instance, I love water, and maybe it's just, and let's face it, when you wash the dish, you get some real satisfaction, like it's not the thing I look to for satisfaction, but you get to look and feel at an absolutely clean thing. Makes you feel like you've actually done something, right? Okay, not so much on the drying. That does not rate. What is it about that thing that makes it especially challenging? And what is the reason for you that whatever that challenge is you're setting feels so daunting? And it will be probably unique to you. Why am I getting you to do this? Why? Because first, if there's a problem, first we need to name the problem. We need to peel the lid back from our own unique perspective. We need to name that problem for ourselves. Because if we can't name the problem, we probably can't see the problem. We just see the barrier. We see the end result. All right? If we can't see the problem, then we can't see the way around it or through it, or how we could break it down. How we could break it down into doable bits. The dishwashing example. Everybody who eats has to participate in the cleanup. That's a way to break it down. No one person gets delegated, and the person who cooked is never the person who has to do the biggest part of the cleanup. Somebody explained that to me, and that was like the light bulb of the world going on for me. All right. Yeah, that's an exaggeration, but if you can't see the problem and name it for what it is for you, then you can't see the way around it. And you almost certainly can't see the way through it. Why? Because it stays, we are allowing it to stay a vague fear. Fear. Fears are nothing but expressions of our internal uncertainty and insecurity. Fears are nothing but our internal expression of uncertainty and insecurity. Do you realize we're not talking a bear running you down in the woods here? We're talking about day-to-day life when we encounter a challenge, and the challenge in some way represents for us depending on the degree, a quasi kind of fear in us. Uncertain means you can't or haven't yet really explored the path out of this. And insecurity means you don't in some way feel up to it. All right. Remember, when you're facing a challenge, like I was, like I still am, like I am sure going to be when I get into the jungle in Uganda, and you guys are watching me on the video, we may even try to go live. All right. But those videos, Braden's going to break them down and he's going to put little snippets, but we're going to have a big video of the whole thing, 360, for the 9 days I'm going to be there. All right. You're going to see me facing down challenges. You're going to see me winning some, and you're going to see me not winning some, but you're going to see me working around them, reassessing it. And I want you to realize there's no magic. And it quite often doesn't feel good until you've overcome it well enough. Remember, when you've got a challenge, no matter what it is in front of you in your life right now, never, ever, ever let yourself go to fear and stay there. Never. Fear is just your internal experience of uncertainty and insecurity. You are very certain you show up here every week looking for that little bit, the next building block to your goals. That's not uncertain. So don't let uncertainty creep in like water and ruin things. And insecurity, if you can imagine it, you can do it. And if you couldn't do it, I didn't say easily. If you couldn't do it, you wouldn't be able to imagine it. So you've already answered your question about whether that goal is realistic. Never go to fear. Always, always go to fact. Look for the facts. Where are the facts about that challenge? All right. And if those facts feel too big or too scary in some way to allow you to begin to overcome, concept, baby steps, break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down until you can carry it. If you can't carry the load in front of you, you just keep breaking it down until you can carry it. Not the whole thing, pieces and tidbits at a time. Why? Because that you can do, and that is your way out of it. And this is your life. This is you managing your life, and you can do it. What would it look like? What would it look like to face down too big, too scary, and well enough, sensibly, reliably, safely enough? What would it look like to break it down into baby steps and get there? Stay tuned on Operation Guerrilla Trekking. Okay? It's just an analogy. And I am so happy that I can put myself in the position of taking that challenge that was a vague dream, not a goal, but a dream. Wouldn't it? Oh, I'd love to do that. Never thinking I would. But something came together when I heard so many of you say, I'm tired. I'm tired from the fight. I'm tired. I can't find my motive. I can't make myself get up. I can't believe that I can do it. And I thought, How can I help? And I have no idea why gorilla trekking came to mind. It wasn't like I had a plan. And I thought, that would be a really good example, not of how great I am, but of actually what it's like to set a challenge for yourself or a goal for yourself, and probably many times to bump your head on reality and have others who trust you, who come to you for support and advice and energy, to give them a way to see what it actually looks like. All right. That's what this whole gorilla trekking thing is about. That's what it's about now. All right. Remember the analogy that when a familiar, responsible adult comes to the crying infant, and you're probably saying to yourself, what has this got to do with the goals and challenges? And it's all tied together, people. Remember the analogy, it's true, that when a familiar, responsive adult comes to a crying infant, and as adults, we need to be that for ourselves, first and foremost. When a familiar, responsive adult comes to the crying infant, and when we can do that for ourselves as adults, come to that part of us that is afraid, that is overwhelmed, all right, reliably, respectfully, not dissing yourself, not reminding yourself, not name calling yourself, not letting the committee have a vote, a familiar, responsive caretaker. Be that for ourselves first and foremost. We need to be that responsive, caring, familiar adult to ourselves. Two very important things happen for the crying infant, happening for the crying adult, the longing adult, the discouraged and overwhelmed adult. All right, two very important things happen. One is the baby feels safe and resourced. And that doesn't change for us as adults. All right. As adults, we respond in exactly the same way as that baby. We feel the pleasure, the reassurance, the safety, the love, the self-love, the self-respect of becoming just that little bit more regulated after being distressed. There's that self-regulated word again. We get a lot of pleasure and a lot of satisfaction when we challenge ourselves, baby steps, and we achieve the better part of what we challenge ourselves with. We feel more self-respect, more sense of being in control, not perfect control. That's a delusion that we are in perfect control, and we quiet the distress in us. Flip all the way back to previous podcasts. What kind of hormones and chemicals are you sending to your brain to clear the path for you so that you can see the truth, the availability of a doable path for you? Inside, we are all in little ways that baby when we're afraid, when we're confused, when we're overwhelmed. I ask you today to make a commitment to yourself, all right, to be that consistent caring, respectful, responsive adult for yourself, so that you can experience your current equivalent of what that baby feels every day. No more name calling, no more criticizing yourself, no more undercutting yourself. When you feel that you failed or you haven't done well enough, I want you to ask yourself this question: what was missing? It isn't you that's faulty. It's the plan that's faulty. Go back and rework the plan and your beliefs. All right. We need feedback. We need to be able to see in small ways the clouds kind of, or the branches opening on this path. Sight, smell, touch, sound, and movement of human interaction. We are coming from a long period of withdrawal and deficit due to COVID. All right. Most of us haven't fared as well as a result of it. Where is the sight line of that goal that you have for yourself? All right. What will it be like to touch down increasingly on that path, closer and closer? Sometimes, some days, a bit of a setback. What are you going to say to yourself? All right. And who are you going to call to share it with? Because no man is an island. When you and I are slowly moving forward to our goals, please don't focus. Don't go to the negative. That's just self-punishing. Don't focus on how much is left to do to get there. No. All right. That's the committee. Yeah, but the yeah, but people, don't focus, okay, on how much there's left to do to get there. Give yourself all of the positives that you can find, that you as an adult caregiver would give that child within you. All right. Your child never lose it. Your internal child never lose it. Listen to it. Take care of it, because children are hope. All right. You put the hope out. You put the fire of hope out when you silence or when you ignore the part of you that is still a kid. All right. So start to become associated by challenging yourself, those baby steps, with the pleasure of gradual success. In big ways? No. Would anybody else notice it? Who cares? Okay, this is not a report card. This is, I said I would clear that corner of the table. I said I would clear by the end of the week. I won't necessarily have solved everything on the safety corridor. And if you don't know what the safety corridor is, go back to hoarding.ca, go back to the Conquer the Clutter, all right, and look at the pictures. Safety corridor first, all right? Then the areas where the activities of daily living, where you live, not the couch, okay, but where other activities of daily living happen next. And then where are the pleasure points? Where is the area in your living circumstances where you get to go and just kind of chill, revive yourself? The brain is connecting the relationship of each one of those baby steps that you take. Each one, your brain is connecting them to reward and safety. You are literally, when you do baby steps continually, repeatedly, you're literally building healthy paths that support your ability to regulate your life more today. It's not just insignificant little baby steps. Who cares? Didn't get the job done. There's still so much. No, 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 no. You're actually helping your brain to connect those, which means that each time after that initial period, each time you'll be going back to the familiar, and it will be easier for you to repeat. Okay, let's have a look at the chat box, and let's see what we've got here now. All right. Yay, Uganda. No kidding, Nora. Last week and this week, there is an S on my profile, and I didn't do this. There's an S. Huh. I've tried to change it, but no avail. Can anyone help me? Okay. Hafsa, can you have a look at that? Okay. To everyone. With ADHD, I know, Claudia, it's a tough one. It feels like one step forward, three steps back. It's the irregularity. We're going to repeat down the way a little bit, 2 or 3 specific reminder podcasts on ADD and ADHD. All right. I can never get on top of the clutter is my reality. No, that's not your reality. That is your perception and your belief. I guess limiting belief as well. It is. All right. Do what you can do and acknowledge it and build from there. As soon as the negativity sets in, do whatever you need to do to squelch it. Okay. ADHD and ADD is difficult. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay. Clear question, bring answers from many various sources. Hey, that's good. That I couldn't have thought of myself. Thank you, JD. Thank you. The step I'm taking is that when I come across something in my home that does not bring me joy anymore, I get rid of it. Woot, woot. That makes room for the stuff that is joyful and positive and useful. All right. To take the space and be readily available. Courage. Courage. I'm with you on that. You know what? There's sometimes you may just need to take a little bit of a mental break too, because you can wear yourself out. All right. You can wear yourself out. Take a break and go back at it, asking different questions. Listen to the podcasts. The questions are in the podcast, in past podcasts. Small talk that can bring, yes, can bring good success. Okay. Making it a priority. I know. So let me ask a question to anybody who has a hard time making something a priority that is niggling them, is bothering them. Why is it a priority? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you, but you need to ask yourself a different question. And that is, so if it isn't a priority, why is it bothering me so much? Why does it remain on the list of, that darn thing isn't done. Oh, I didn't do it. Why? That it keeps costing you is a better word, costing you peace of mind and a sense of satisfaction, not that thing looming. Oh, I've got a report I have to write, so I can really commiserate. I hate writing reports. All right, but you know what? I recognize it is a priority. I'm gathering a head of steam on this over the last week. All right. That report has to be written. And you know what? I have to face it. I can say, oh, well, this is, I want to do this more. And I can do that for a while, but that is still screaming at me. What's screaming at you? Or maybe what's been there long enough that it's just like that really annoying whisper in the background that you can't get away from. Make it a priority. Get rid of it. Get your peace of mind back. On that note, we're going to wind up. Thank you for coming. We will, I hope, see all of you next week. Take care. Make it a good one. All right. Make it a good one. Bye, everybody.
Can you do it? Yes, you can. Yes, you can.